The objective of a logistics or distribution manager is simple. It's his or her responsibility, firstly, to ensure that the material handling operation is able to respond to the demands of the organization in a smooth and efficient fashion, and secondly, to provide that service at the lowest possible cost. The requirement for low handling costs is understandable. Let's face it, the movement of goods from A to B and the storage of material in warehouses rarely adds any value to the product itself. It only adds cost. But whilst the overall objectives of maximum efficiency at lowest costs are straightforward, planning and managing the process is an entirely different matter.
This short program provides an insight to the main ingredients of cost-efficient logistics management by reviewing the main principles of life cycle cost efficiency. The concept of life cycle cost has been established for many years to help managers understand the total cost of running an operation. The calculation of life cycle cost efficiency is based on a comparison of total costs with the overall capacity or productivity of the system. In simple terms, how much are we spending on the process and how much will the process deliver in terms of total work done? Applying this type of analysis to a material handling operation ultimately enables us to calculate the cost of any given task, be it the cost of a pallet handled, a pallet stored, or, in order picking, the cost of any item picked.
Let's start with a review of the principles of life cycle cost. Now, to fully assess the real cost of an operation, it's necessary to take into account all the vital ingredients that support the total function.
This, of course, includes the cost of the equipment itself, expressed in terms of interest and depreciation over its useful life. Energy and maintenance costs, including both servicing and parts consumption, are other ingredients. The cost of labour in terms of driver or operator's wages and social costs are another significant factor in most conventional handling operations. And in order to establish a total picture, it may be necessary to take into account the cost of the building itself, investment in floor surfaces, and maintenance. In addition, there are other contingencies, such as the cost of machine failure in terms of lost production, and for some companies, the investment in in-house servicing teams, tools, and equipment.
The total amount of money spent on any operation, trucks, drivers, servicing, buildings, is relatively easy to track. But to establish an overall picture of annual handling costs may be more difficult.
This is because the age of the equipment will often have an impact, for example on maintenance, which usually increases as a truck gets older. In peak periods, additional machines may be required on short-term rental, which again means that total handling cost varies from month to month. The concept of life cycle cost is to take into account all operational costs over the anticipated life cycle of the operation, be it, for example, 5, 6, or 7 years, and then annualizing the various cost ingredients to give a smoother, clearer picture. If you apply this concept to typical operations, facts emerge that may surprise many logistics managers. Whilst the investment in capital equipment may be perceived to be the largest cost that managers have to face, the truck normally represents only between 10 and 25% of the total life cycle cost. Maintenance and energy costs account for between 5 and 15% during the life of the operation, but by far the largest single element is the cost of the driver, normally representing up to 70% of the total life cycle cost.
The percentage variations reflect differing costs of labour and capital equipment between different applications. Now, further analysis of life cycle costs gives even more food for thought.
The impact of the driver cost means that an increase of just 10% in productivity will easily justify a 30% higher spend on capital equipment because of the impact of labour costs. It means that if you analyze the cost savings potential of any material handling operation, it looks like this. A 20% saving in maintenance costs will influence total life cycle cost by only between 1 and 3%. Likewise, a 20% saving in the cost of the truck itself can only affect total costs by between 2 and 5% in typical operations. But a 20% saving in driver costs will have the biggest impact, up to 16% saving of total costs over the life of the operation. Naturally, savings in labour costs will be less than popular if they're achieved by simply reducing the level of wages or salaries. That, however, is not the only way. The most effective method of improving life cycle cost efficiency is by focusing on the total handling capacity and productivity of the operation. If the productivity of the total system can be increased, the amount of work done per man-hour also increases, influencing the number of trucks required and therefore total labour cost. In the same way that the total cost of any operation is made up of a number of elements, there are also a number of factors that affect handling capacity and productivity. It's at the planning stage that the overall efficiency of any operation will be determined. The method and flow of material movement needs to be carefully selected to reflect the demands of the operation. The most important thing is to determine the optimum number of trucks and drivers required to do the job, since they are the major cost factors. And choosing the right solution is critical. If goods are to be stored as complete pallet loads for relatively long periods of time, it's likely that an intensive, very narrow aisle store may offer the most cost-effective result, allowing the highest density of storage. In extreme cases, block stacking will maximize use of floor space without giving problems when it comes to the retrieval of loads, if there are relatively few different order lines. For high-speed, fast-flow order picking, different demands may be put upon the operation, with a distinction between bulk storage and regular order picking faces. The anticipated shift pattern will have an impact on the energy requirements of the system. Demands for battery changing facilities need to be taken into account. The dimension of the building will determine the ability to store goods at height, and the weight of the loads will dictate vertical storage patterns. Administration systems that enable operators to select the optimum route plan to minimize travel time of the handling cycle will also determine overall handling efficiency, and this may be enhanced with electronic onboard communication systems. Truck performance can have a major impact on handling capacity, but this is not necessarily just a matter of speed. In most operations, equipment is operating vertically for a significant proportion of the time, so real truck performance is determined by a combination of acceleration rate, braking efficiency, travel speed, and in man-up operations performance management to achieve the optimum balance between fast, smooth travel and operator safety. Truck performance can only be properly determined by comparative work cycle tests.
These tests ensure that the equipment is measured in the role that it will play in real life. A typical handling cycle will include an element of horizontal travel, elevation to pallet placement, retrieval or order picking height, and onward travel to the next pick or deposit position.
Ergonomy plays a key role in truck performance. After all, if a machine is poorly designed from an ergonomic point of view, and consequently not as easy to drive, the overall performance of man combined with machine will be affected. Today, there's an increased awareness of the importance of ergonomy in truck design. It's not just a matter of operator comfort. Instrument layout and cab design directly affect the pace at which an operator can work, eliminating fatigue, stress, and also repetitive strain injuries, which are recognized as a major contributor to employee absenteeism. This human factor plays a key role in any material handling process. Operator skills will have a direct effect on overall productivity, so driver training is essential to ensure maximum output. Statistics have shown that 30% of maintenance costs can be directly attributed to driver error through poor training or driver abuse.
So, there are many factors that will affect the capacity and productivity of a logistics system. We started out by saying that the measurement of effective logistics management is the level of life cycle cost efficiency that's achieved. So let's just go through the main points again.
The main ingredients of life cycle cost are capital cost of equipment, operating costs in terms of service and energy, and the cost of the labor force. Productivity is principally determined by the right choice of material handling solution and overall system planning. Machine performance plays a key role and should be measured by comparative work cycle tests. And ergonomy has a major part to play to ensure that the expensive manpower is working at peak performance at all times. If total life cycle costs can be expressed as the amount of money spent per annum over the life of the operation, handling capacity or productivity can be expressed in terms of handling cycles per annum. A direct comparison of the two will provide us with our ultimate measurement. Costs per job done, be it a pallet handled or an item picked.
For professional operators, this calculation will form the basis of selecting the optimum logistics solution and the right equipment to meet the combined objectives of handling efficiency and minimum cost. Today, there are logistics planning systems available to help managers identify the best solution for their needs.
For example, the BT Compass system is able to analyze the operational requirements of any handling situation and make a fast comparison of different pallet handling or order picking solutions. The system can identify the optimum warehouse layout and calculate accurately the handling capacity and level of productivity that can be achieved. The system will also project the life cycle cost efficiency of different solutions, thus ensuring that logistics managers can get on with the job confidently.
There's no secret to effective logistics management. It's simply a matter of careful planning and realization of maximum life cycle cost efficiency.